Okay. Now, continuing on with high school a little bit, and by the way, everything I said about high school will also go for the college level as well. In terms of preponderance of certain kinds of types showing up in certain places. I forgot to mention that I've had lots of friends who had friends in the audiovisual clubs, and that seemed to have drawn a hell of a lot of TPs of all kinds. So the ISTPs, the ESTPs, the INTPs, the ENTPs. So people, yeah, liked working with systems and liked working with, I don't know. Maybe it was just the guys that wanted to hang out together. It happened to be at my high school, but it was a pretty big high school. It was a downtown big city high school with thousands of people in it. And yeah, that's what I saw. And also being involved in in theater groups and stuff outside of that myself, I would notice that the audiovisual guys are usually those kind of guys are just kind of cool, and they didn't say much, but they kind of hung back, and they had lots of really gallows humor to share with each other, and they're pretty funny guys. They were funny guys and pretty freedom seeking guys, in the mind and elsewhere. So, I also didn't say what about visual arts clubs? Visual arts clubs and activities and things, you can very reliably find a whole lot of FPs in there. So you can find quite a few NFs for sure in visual arts stuff. You can also find a lot of SFPs, particularly the ISFPs. You're going to find a real preponderance of them. They in art classes, visual arts stuff. But some ESFPs as well, and again, people of all different types. But if that's who you want to hang with, or some FPs, then you will definitely find a lot of them in there. What else? There was another group. Oh yes, if you're looking to hang out with SJs, more wall-to-wall SJs. Again, SJs are not hard to find anywhere in there, but um, things that have to do with maintaining schools. Again, anything to maintain traditions. SJs are all over it. They love it. So, the Glee Club or the school spirit, whatever thing. Obviously, I know so much about it, eh? Um, the prom committee or the homecoming committee or yeah, things that could keep school. The people being involved with the alumni club. So yeah, people are interested in maintaining the traditions of the school spirit, and that kind of thing. They definitely are going to be in there. And if there are any, yeah. So all right, I'll finish that with high school. Now moving on to the college level and majors and stuff. Okay, yeah. Well, in fine arts, if you're doing a BFA, again, you're going to see just tons and tons and tons of FPs all over the damn place. You will also see a smattering of the INTPs. They're going to be in there. I have a couple of painter friends I know who are professional, gone on to, that's their career, and they're NTPs. Um, you're going to see, well, again, you'll see some of everybody, but yeah, you're going to see quite a lot of NFs in there of all kinds. Um, and yeah, that's all I'll say about that. Now, going into other sorts of domains, going into, let me just think of what else at the college level. A lot of the kinds of clubs and associations are ones that you could also find at the high school level. So, things that have to do with progressive politics, and this goes just across the board in society. Anything that's pretty leftist in its political leanings, you're going to find a much greater than usual number of NFs in there. And way fewer SJs than you will find in more either middle of the road political groups or conservative groups. Now that I'm onto politics, I might as well talk about that. So, organizations in adulthood that have political affiliation, political objectives as their goals, I think that and again, I'll be interested to hear what people say about this, those who have different affiliations from me, but I think it's the case that in right-wing politics, you can have quite a lot of NTs show up. I think NTs as a group are kind of divided. I think I get the impression that about half of them, end up in the far left or the left, and about half of them end up in the right, or as libertarians or other. Yeah, I really think they're kind of distributed both ways. Well, more than both ways, but yeah, they're on the left or on the right as well, and that makes a lot of sense to me. In that, oh geez, you know what? This is long enough. I'm not going to get. That's for another day. But there are definitely a lot of NTs in the left, so you can find them there. Like on the right, you can find all kinds except a lot of NFs. And how about that? And on the left, you can find a greater than usual number of NFs, and very few SJs, and half SPs probably, and some NTs. Quite a greater than you would normally see elsewhere. All right, now, um, oh yeah, where was I going? So college majors, stuff like that. So those who are in humanities, there is going to be a preponderance. Again, there are going to be all kinds of people in there, especially people and also really all kinds of people, because at the undergrad level, you need to have electives to get your degree. So whatever you're concentrated in, there are always going to be some future electrical engineers who are in lit class, taking some English lit, or they're taking history, or they're taking one of the humanities kinds of courses. So there really will be a grab bag of people, but you will see people choosing electives more that are in the humanities that are either NTs or NFs, because they like the kind of theoretical thinking that these subjects can invite. And again, it's like what called big picture thinking. The humanities invite big picture thinking of all different kinds, and so they invite people with the intuitive information gathering preference. Business school, you're going to see way more S's, particularly SJs, but you'll also, you'll see a smattering of NTs in there too. And of course, everybody's everywhere, but yeah, you won't find as many NFs, that's for sure. In business school, you will find a hell of a lot of SJs are going to be in there. What else? In terms of the hard sciences, you're going to see a preponderance of Ts, and you are going to see more NTs than you would elsewhere. Quite a few NTs are going to be in biochemistry and stuff like in physics, and stuff that involves a lot of math, and involves a lot of logic, a lot of logical thinking. And you'll see quite a few STs in there as well. I wonder if this is even is this useful to anyone? I don't know. I don't know again how obvious this is, but at least a few people said they'd like to hear stuff like this. So there you go. Colleges, people who could be going to learn the trades, could be anybody really. But I think that in the area of the trades, what you see a lot of SPs. Because going into business for oneself has a lot of appeal for SPs. So, they might be kind of practical. They want to make some money. They're not in, a lot of SPs with the sensor information gathering preference. They're not that in, they're like, yeah, theory, or they might have certain areas of theory that interest them for some reason. But in general, they're sort of, they're kind of, usually the bend is we want things to have a practical application, a real world application in the not so distant future. So I think that the trade stuff really appeals to SPs a lot, because it's a way that they can make a good living. Maybe have their, if you deal with repairing furnaces, or you deal with installing different kinds of equipment, or you're a specialist or you're a plumber. Doing things like that means that you get to work with your hands. You get a lot of variety, and if you're working for yourself, for example, or you're working for a small outfit, you get to do different things every day. You may have some flexibility in terms of how you can have your schedule, and maybe you've got your own business. You're sort of in charge of, no one's the boss of you, and that's very nice for for SPs. SPs predictably would love that, if they can hack it. And have your own truck and your own thing and your own way of doing things and your own way of dealing with your customer base and all that. I can see that having a lot of appeal. Now, helping professions, I think it really depends. I think, again, a lot of, in terms of in practical, medical stuff, I think you're going to see a lot of S's in there, particularly SJs. I gave the example of nursing earlier, or aid workers or whatever. Again, the less training you have, the more of a mix it's going to be of different kinds of types in there. But if it's sort of a career thing, then yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more if you want to see a lot of and work with a lot of SJs, you can definitely find a bunch of them in there. And as I said, also in like primary school, as teachers, SJs are all over that. And any SJs are anywhere that somebody needs an accountant, somebody needs a controller, somebody needs somebody making systems, bureaucratic systems and administrative systems run well. And to execute the things in those systems, the different steps in those systems, you're going to see a lot of SJs. So if you're in an org that happens to be full of other types, but you're like, I want to find where the SJs are for sure. Like, where am I going to definitely find the SJs? Clerical and admin SJs are going to be there. There's no, there can't exist. I can't imagine existing. It's a bold statement, but I'm going to make it with confidence. I don't think that there exists a clerical department or an admin department of any kind, of any bureau anywhere, that has no SJs in it. Like, it's pretty much unimaginable. It's unimaginable, really. So yeah. All right, where was I? Anywhere where you're going to see like strategic planning going on with something, you're probably, if it's in the corporate world, you're going to see a lot of TJs there. And if it's sort of where there's a novelty is needed, where very innovative thinking is needed for the strategic planning, you're going to see a greater than usual preponderance of NTJs in there. But if it's for like honing systems that are already existing and that are not going to be wildly reformed, like where there's going to be wild reform of logistical systems, you're going to see NTJs being consultants on that, probably. Being called in to work on stuff like that, and some STJs too. They're always going to be some STJs. There are always going to be some SJs around. They are very employable, those SJs. You know, like they are very useful people. You know, no question about that. So yeah, but when there's going to be, say, refinement of already existing systems in terms of logistics and making the delivery more efficient. Simplifying things or whatever, you're probably going to see a hell of a lot of STJs involved in stuff like that at a high level. All right, what about the areas of engineering? Engineering, I think you're just going to find a lot of people who have the thinking preference for decision making. So people who have a penchant for logic. Again, they're not going to be the only ones in there, but there are going to be a lot of them. And I get the impression from knowing quite a few people in different areas that probably engineering majors, and particularly at the grad level, I think it's a real split between STs and NTs. I think there are quite a few NTs, but there are just as many, or maybe a bit more STs in there. People or engineers who are watching, maybe if you want to comment, that would be great. I think the same thing is true in medicine as well. You'll see more NTs than you normally would because they're just the raw numbers of them are so small, but comparative, especially the introverted ones, but there are going to be just as many S's in there, definitely, and maybe more, you know. Yeah, probably more. Yeah, that would only make sense. There would be more. In law, though, this is interesting. Law, in some sort of vocational testing that's done, to sort of figure out what people's, what domains of work certain young people might be more, have a better fit temperamentally than others. It's interesting. Law is class. I can't remember which one it is, if it's a strong interest inventory or which one. But anyhow, one of the very commonly administered batteries of sort of assessments for helping people figure out their getting career counseling. Law is the only white-collar profession that is lumped into the creative professions category within this particular assessment. And that makes a lot of sense to me, too, because when you think, so a lot of NTs in particular, but quite a few NFs, too, end up going into law. Because being good as a lawyer, and like really good, involves not only being able to see what's there, but it's enormously about possibilities generation. It's about looking at the givens with a cool head and taking in all the details and being very logical in your processing of that, but then coming up with creative projections as to, well, if we take this line of defense for this thing, this is what's likely to happen, and these are likely to be the reactions down the road and the consequences and so on, and kind of complex abstract thinking. So there really are more ends in law than in the general population, if looked at just sort of what the random, much more than the random distribution would be. I think it's time to break. I hope that this next one will be the last video where I'll keep talking about this stuff. Here we go.